Susan here. Welcome back to my channel. It is time, okay? I have for you today my review of Black Mountain, written by Viktor Wolfe, okay? Now this was sent to me by the author himself, and he personally requested an honest review with no sugarcoating, and that's exactly what you're gonna get. Honest review, always on my channel, regardless of whether an author sends me a book or not, regardless of anything else. It's always my honest opinion, and it is not swayed by anything I may receive, such as a book or any payments or anything. Doesn't matter. Always an honest review on my channel. I also like to do book reviews without spoilers. Now that's a personal thing for me. I know there are some channels that review a book and they'll just blah, you know, with examples through the book and everything, and if you haven't read that book yet, that's known as a spoiler, because it's giving you insight into what's between those pages before you run into it in the order that the author has written it. So I don't like to do that. So here we go. I do have a printout of the review I did on this book on both Goodreads and Amazon.ca. So I will refer to that so that I don't forget anything to tell you. But I'll go into a bit deeper detail than I do on the written reviews, of course. This is a video and I can talk to you. It's not something you have to read. Okay, now this is quite the book. Okay, you can see the physical size of this thing. It is 747 pages long. And Victor himself mentions in the afterword that it contains 253,000 words. That's that's over 250,000 words. Okay, that's a lot of talking. Okay, without giving any spoilers away, I can tell you that on the author blurb on the back cover, it says, Viktor Wolfe pulls no punches with his newest in-your-face adult thriller. Never before has there been such a blistering, brutal novel set in a prison environment. He's not kidding when he says adult thriller. Okay? I would not recommend this to anyone below the age of 18, because throughout the entire novel, and I'm talking right front to back, there is lots of swearing, erotic descriptions, descriptions of violence, and like extreme violence, I'm talking. And no doubt prison is a place where all this could reasonably be expected to happen, and he tells you right in the author's blurb, blistering brutal novel set in a prison environment. So you're gonna expect some of that, okay? I have a bit of a pet peeve, you might say. There is a lot of hate speech in this novel, but I think the author is trying to portray what really happens in prison and not a PC version of that. And if you're going to read this novel, you must have a thicker skin, okay? Sadly, it's lacking these days. Everybody is so easily offended. So easily. Like, grow up. Life is life. This is the reality. And, you know, if you're really highly offended by that kind of stuff, steer clear of this novel. I'm just saying, okay? It is about a prison, and it is pretty brutal in the descriptions. Now, I think Victor, he definitely went overboard on the descriptors. I don't think he needed to go quite as overboard to get the idea across or to paint us a picture of what was happening. It didn't need to go that far. Okay. I find them rather on the heavy side. I was a little disappointed in the ending. It felt rushed and a little out of sync with the rest of the novel. Like when you read the whole novel and then you get to the last, I would say 2-3 chapters was a little off kilter for how the rest of the novel read. The last 2 or 3 chapters were kind of hard to get your head around. I found myself rereading it a bit just to try and capture what it was trying to tell me. He fleshed out the characters really well, so much so that I could visualize what they looked like when I closed my eyes, and sometimes I didn't want to close my eyes. The whole topic of the stigmata, it was handled pretty well, including having someone from the Vatican come to check it out, which would have happened in real life. I found that really interesting. Little background on me is needed here. I am a Christian, not Roman Catholic, okay? I do understand the signs of stigmata and how and when they occurred with Jesus when he was crucified. Another thing, even if you're not a believer, you can read this novel, and when the stigmata happens, each time it is explained how that relates to what happened to Jesus. So you will understand. You don't have to have a foreknowledge of what all that means. Okay, so anybody could read this book and understand what's going on. Another thing that is spread from one end of this book to the other, and I really like this part, is references to the works of Stephen King, particularly his novel and his film adaptation of The Green Mile, which is Stephen King's famous prison setting book. And so it really relates to Black Mountain. It kind of pairs off with it there. It's an epic novel. The Green Mile is an epic novel and film adaptation. Again, in the afterword, Victor tells us that he spent the past 2 decades working in a prison and that he wanted to tell the story from both sides of the bars. I feel like he's accomplished that, since we get the perspective not only from the guards, but also from the inmates having to live behind said bars and deal with the realities of prison life. So, very well done on that, Victor. To sum it up, I really enjoyed the story, but I found it was too heavy on the descriptors. The erotic descriptions were over the top for sure. Okay, didn't need to be like that. It does involve the subject of stigmata, but even those who don't believe could read this novel and understand how each sign came about, since they're explained as they occur on our main character, Officer Nathan Taylor. The main setting, of course, is the maximum security prison, Black Mountain, but there are outside locations as well, which helps provide a bigger picture on how this prison fits into the community and brings other characters into play. There was one other thing I wanted to mention. How this starts off, Nathan Taylor starts off as a regular Joe Blow. Okay, he puts new tires on cars and trucks all day, and he wants a better career, but he has no diplomas, no credentials whatsoever. So I don't understand how this man came to be a prison guard. I thought they would recruit out of like a security kind of a career pool, like police officers or mall security or somebody that had some sort of security training. So that was a little off-putting to me, how that started. But I just went with it and started to read and got involved in the characters and so on. So what am I going to rate this thing, and what did I rate it on Goodreads and on Amazon? I am giving it 3 out of 5 stars. Okay, it did lose some points because of the overwhelming descriptions that were a little too graphic at points. There was a lot of erotic content that it's okay to touch on here and there, but it was prolific throughout this novel. So even though I do have a thick skin, I think it went overboard on that score. Again, that goes in with my recommending 18 and over for this novel, this particular one. I want to thank Viktor very much for sending me this. As I told you when I got it, it will be on my bookshelf, and at some point in the future I'll probably read it again. Not too soon, because it is thick and I just got through it, so I'll give it some time, but it will sit on my bookshelf, especially since he signed and dated and personalized it on the front here for me. That means a lot to me, and I treasure these books in my collection. I do have a few of them. But that is my review of this book. Without giving away the plot line or anything that people who haven't read it would consider a spoiler, that is basically it. So 18 plus, have a thicker skin, and if you enjoy prison novels, this is a good one. I will give it a thumbs up for that. It is very involved both inside the prison and outside the prison, and you get to know the main characters and the second level characters that support the main characters, and it is a good story in all. So that is my review. Thank you again, Viktor, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Bye for now.